I hope that in a few years' time we will look back at 2012 as the turning point, the year when we came away from negative thinking, survival thinking, to positive growth thinking and moving forward. And certainly we feel in NSAI that we see this in our client base. So companies are looking to adopt new standards, they're looking to develop new competitive advantages, and this is something we see in 2012 that we saw much less in 2011 and 2010. So I think it is the turning point, and I think that is going to be the badge that will be associated with 2012 going forward. We are very focused in NSAI on the link between our work and jobs. We use the concept of the quality infrastructure, the quality systems that are needed in any economy if it's to be efficient, if it's to be effective, and if it's to be a good place for doing business. And we manage several of those elements in NSAI: standards, certification, and metrology in all their different forms. And we really do believe that these are going to be very important now in the recovery of the Irish economy. One of the things I'm really happy about in 2012 is this was the year when smaller companies really began to avail of NSAI services on a much wider level. Traditionally, the multinationals and the larger companies have understood and appreciated the benefit of standards, certification and metrology, but smaller companies have felt it's a little bit out of reach. Now, we worked very hard last year in 2012, but also in the preceding years, to make our services more accessible to SMEs, and I think 2012 was the year when they realised that and availed of those services more. Things we did in 2012 relating to small companies would be, for example, the Your Standards, Your Say portal. Now, this is a web portal. We're one of only 5 standards bodies around Europe, indeed I think around the world, that have such a service at this point in time, where any company, including a small company, can register for no cost and see exactly what's happening, emerging standards in their area of activity. It makes a huge difference to every company, but it makes a particular difference and a particular benefit for companies who are developing new processes, new products, new services for markets. They know exactly what's happening around Europe, exactly what's happening around the world, and they'll get good prompts, good input into their developments. The very first thing I would encourage all businesses to do is have one engineer, a technical person, register on behalf of the business with Your Standards, Your Say, and use that service. Once a month, once a quarter, go in there, investigate what's going on in the business areas of interest. It costs absolutely nothing but the few hours of time, and I think for almost every business, the benefits will be huge. So as we emerge, we've been focused on survival in Ireland for the last number of years. Now we need a greater strategy than that. We need to look forward, and I would encourage every company to look at where standards, metrology and certification can play a role for that business, and NSAI is there to support them. Companies realise that the benefits to the organisation far outweigh the costs. And there really has been an appreciation just how much standards do for a business. It's not alone that you can access those purchase projects, those tenders, those big projects nationally and internationally, but, and ultimately much more important, your business benefits in itself. Your performance increases, your efficiency increases, and you have the confidence that you know you are working to best practice, and not just national best practice. We are an island, we can be isolated at times. You know if you're working to the ISO standards, you're up there with the best international practice. Yes, interesting that there are always shifts and patterns in how people use standards and the standards to which they certify. I guess in Ireland, many people will realise that NSAI was very much at the forefront of the introduction of ISO 9000 way back in the 1990s and early 2000s. And Irish companies did very well from using the ISO 9000 quality management standard. So this really is the bedrock and probably the starting point in Ireland for most companies. There are over 1 million users now of ISO 9000 worldwide in 165 countries, so it is universally recognized. But from there, companies tend to move on, and depending on the nature of the business, they might move to environmental standards, such as ISO 14000, which again would have very high international recognition, or the new energy standard, ISO 50001, which is an interesting standard because the energy standard is an international standard with a very, very strong Irish linkage. So we're very proud in NSAI that in 2012, the energy standard, which we started years ago with Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland as an Irish national standard, has developed since to become a European standard and now a fully fledged international standard with a very high take-up and a very high resonance internationally. There are other areas as well where companies are looking more and more at standards. For example, risk management. Risk management is an area that in Ireland and internationally companies are putting more and more weight on. And we've seen in 2012 a greater interest in adopting best practice in risk management in different situations and making it a core part of the business. Corporate and social responsibility, which is not a standard we directly certify to, but we do work with other Irish and international organisations such as Business in the Community, BITC. And that is again an area with a very high level of interest. People are responsible in their communities and they want to be seen to be responsible in the community. The suppliers they use, all these different factors which are important to modern business. When I look back at 2012, I really have to be very proud of the contribution of the staff in NSAI, because that was a year when our numbers were falling quite dramatically as part of the whole public service reform, but our services did not diminish one iota. In actual fact, through investment, through hard work, through new systems, through new methodology, the staff in NSAI actually managed to increase rather than decrease the service. And I'm very proud of that. It's a difficult time, and the whole focus of this organisation and the people working in this organisation is to use the services we can provide to best effect, and not tomorrow, today.